To be honest with you, I don't even know that there was like some kind of last event or straw, some kind of last straw that made me feel like it was time for me to go. I think it was more about me being in a place where I felt like I don't want to continue to be unhappy. And if I want to change that, I actually have to get up and do something about it. And just a quick recap, because I know I have not posted in a couple of months, or at least, yeah, I think it was only a couple months. Just because your girl has been making some really big leaps recently, and I've kind of had to pace myself with the content. But for those that are new and who are just jumping on to the journey, my name is Ariane. I'm 27 from Kansas City, Missouri, and I've been living in Houston for about 3 years or so. I'm kind of losing track. I think 3 going on 4. And ever since I've been here, it has been a goal of mine to create my dream life. But as I mentioned in a previous video, I think I know at this point, I completely underestimated what it would take to build a life from scratch. And when I say from scratch, I mean no friends, no family, no career, girl. I moved down here, I saved my money, and I guess in my head at the time, girl, the plan was just to kind of get by on the savings until I could figure out exactly what I wanted to do. But to be expected, you know, when you're trying something new and when you're doing something so big and brave and bold, you know, it's to be expected that you run into some tough situations or some things that just kind of detour you a little bit, and that's exactly what happened. And so for the last year or so, I've just been trying to get my life back together, girl. And it has been a task, to say the least. Now that I've gotten myself to what I consider to be solid ground, or somewhat solid ground, because the situation that I'm in is definitely still not where I want it to be. It's definitely still not a perfect situation, but we're getting closer and closer to where we want to be. And I decided that I wanted to document the journey to me building a very full and abundant life in Houston. And so that's what the Beautypreneur Diaries is. So yeah, I'll be taking you guys through the ups and downs of it all and talking and healing through it. So yeah, that's just a little synopsis of what this channel is going to be about moving forward. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, definitely subscribe and join the fam. We would love to have you, and let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so let's start with how and when I decided to make the leap. I planned it and did it all in the same week. Okay, so I'm gonna attempt to explain this. It's a little difficult to articulate, but I'm gonna try. So I have recently been feeling this really strong urge to connect with God more and feel more grounded in my faith. I couldn't really tell you where it came from. If I could guess, I would say it was more about just wanting to get in touch with my own like personal spiritual identity. That was part of it, because I was learning more about myself in a lot of different ways. But one of those was spirituality, religion, and just trying to figure out, you know, what resonated with me the most as far as what I believe. And another big thing that influenced me deciding to kind of go on this spirituality journey was wanting to reconnect with my why and reconnect with my purpose. I feel like the unhappiness that was caused by the job that I was working, it was causing me to not only be miserable, like I said earlier, but also it was just causing me to feel like I was drifting really far away from myself and who I was, because it was not aligned at all with what I wanted to do. Just like generally speaking, like for a career. I felt really unappreciated and just undervalued, underpaid, and it was honestly just really soul draining for me. And I felt myself, like I said, just kind of drifting further and further away from who I actually was and what I actually wanted because of what I was doing on a daily basis. I felt like my job was taking up so much of my time, and I did not have any say so in the amount of time, effort, or creativity that I wanted to put towards other like side projects, content, or just any of the other things that I wanted to do. I feel like I didn't have the time or the energy or the permission to express and explore other parts of me, because like I said, that job was taking up so much of my time and energy. But when I say I wanted to get closer to God, I don't mean in the way of like, oh, let me start showing up for church every single Sunday, because I think I've done that in the past, and I have more recently been going to church, and I've really been enjoying that, because even though I might still be finding my like specific religion or spirituality, which we'll talk about that more in the future. Regardless of how I feel about Christianity, I do enjoy going to church and being around people who also love God. I love going to church because the energy is so high in there and it feels so good. Regardless of where I am in my spirituality journey, I still feel so connected whenever I go. But yeah, not in that way. Not in a, oh, let me start showing up for church every Sunday type of way, but in a, oh, let me have some deeper conversations with God about where I am in life and where I want to be. And let me start praying for some clear guidance, some clear signs so that I can try to change my situation. I didn't want to do it on my own. I felt like I wanted God to kind of lead my steps and send me some signs, talk to me, interact with me. And I felt like over the last couple of years, I've been so distracted with so many other things that I hadn't really worked on my relationship with God enough to where if God was communicating with me during this time, I don't feel like I was close enough to my faith for me to be able to recognize those signs, if that makes sense. Like I said, it's kind of hard to articulate. Hopefully I'm making sense, but I wanted to get closer to God so that I could clearly see how he was responding to me, if he was at all. And I felt like there were times where God was sending me like little nudges, little winks, and telling me where to go. Because I hadn't built that trust with God and that solid enough bond, I don't feel like I felt confident that I was hearing God correctly and clearly, if that made sense. So all of that was an effort to start my spirituality journey, but also to get to a place where I can hear God clearly and allow him to lead me. But there was one conversation specifically very early on in my spirituality journey, and I still am in the early stages, which you guys will see me talk through. But in one of the very early conversations, just kind of breaking down the purpose of religion, the purpose of faith, and why it's so important and why it's so necessary, just kind of breaking down the basics of faith, realizing and understanding that faith means believing in something that you cannot necessarily see. And then thinking about, okay, well, if that's what faith is, in my own personal context, that means even though I can't see the change that I want to see in my life right now, just believing that I can have it and that it can happen for me. But just upon having more conversation about it between me, God, and ChatGPT, girl, I realized that there was a missing piece to my faith. And that it wasn't enough to just sit around and hope and pray and believe that you can have it. Because I got to a place where I felt like I can see this for myself. I can really do this. I think the missing piece was, okay, but how are you showing God that you believe that this can happen for you? And once I realized that, my brain just went, like, I was just like, okay, wait. That's the missing piece. Like, it's not that you don't believe it, but it's like God is asking you to show up and meet him halfway and show him that you believe that this can happen for you. And if you think about the ways that you've been showing up, it all points towards, yes, I want this thing, but I'm not doing anything about it. I think that is what has had me stuck over the last year or so. And so while I was happy I had that light bulb moment, the nerves and anxiety started to kick in immediately, because now that meant not all of the responsibility, but now that meant get up and do something. Like, the ball was in my court. Because like I said, I was happy that I figured out that, okay, the reason why I've been stuck is because I haven't been moving, essentially, which is like, duh, but you get what I mean. But like I said, the ball is now in my court, and now I have to figure out what my next move is. And so I went through a time where I was receiving some very clear, abundantly clear signs from God that it was time to make the change. And you know me, well, maybe you don't know me, you'll get to know me. I don't like uncertainty. I don't like unpredictability. I don't like moving scared. I think nobody likes to move scared. I'm going to overthink. I'm going to overanalyze until I can't no more, because I need every move that I make to count, and I need it to be the right one. I can literally not afford to mess up, like, seriously. So I went through a period where I was just like thinking about it, constantly trying to talk to God and asking the same questions over and over and over again, because I'm like, God, are you sure? Are you sure? Like, even though I was getting these abundantly clear signs, like I said, I wanted to be as sure as possible. But once again, when we're talking about faith, sorry if it's a little loud outside, I think they're doing like the lawn and stuff. But anyways, so like I said, every little sign that I was getting, I'm ducking and squinting and dodging like, God, are you positive though? Like, was that for me or did you mean to, you know? But all that to say, that's when I knew, okay, it's time for me to take the leap. I don't really have no choice at this point. It's either sink or swim. It's either fly or fall or just stay where you are. And I knew I couldn't stay there, so it was time. So at this point in the story, I am making arrangements to go on interviews on my off days. It's really deciding I was ready to make that sacrifice because I just could no longer stay there. When I say the nerves were on 100, the anxiety was on 100 because your girl has not interviewed in like 2 years. I felt so rusty and I was like, I just don't know what this is. I don't know what's gonna happen, which is why I really wasn't in my content bag like that while I was going through this process because it was too uncertain for me. It was too uncertain. In the midst of that though, I was sitting in myself just really reflecting and trying to figure out if I was ready to leave that predictability that I had been, you know, in the midst of for the last couple of years with that job. And I realized that while it was predictable, most jobs just give the illusion of certainty. No job is actually really that secure. So it felt like a big deal to leave my job, but in reality it wasn't because I didn't feel secure. Mentally, I was not okay. Mentally, I did not feel secure and my job could have been taken away from me at any point anyways. So I just felt like it was time. And I feel like when you've been in something so long, when you've been in something for so long, anything outside of that feels uncomfortable. So I tried not to let that uncomfortable feeling stop me because that in-between feeling, man, it sucked so bad. But also, what other way could I tell God and let the universe know that I'm truly ready, you know? So I had to do what I had to do. But here is when things really shifted, because when I say I am still in awe of the way that God showed up for me immediately, like it felt like God was saying, it's about time, girl. It is about time. And I still can't wrap my head around it. Like I got hired on my very first interview that I've had in years, which when I tell you, when I left that place, I screamed. Like I was almost in tears because I couldn't believe that I was a step closer to getting away from something that had been draining the literal life out of me for so long, what felt like so long. So after that, I interviewed at a couple more places and, you know, they told me they would give me a call back. But I already knew I was pretty much hired at that first place. So the next week I had planned some more interviews. And then surprise, I got hired again because I was looking for 2 part-time jobs. So I got hired again on my very first interview that second week. And so what I had planned to be a week full of interviews, I only had to interview at one place and then I was good for the rest of the week. I was off work for the rest of the week because I took an LOA. And so I just spent that time recording some content and just trying to just really get my mind set together for this shift. But I kid you not, I felt like God was with me that entire time. I felt like he was literally guiding my steps like I had asked, sending me these signs and just all the things that I needed to know, like what places to go to and what to say and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know that I'm ready to disclose how me and God communicate just yet, but I feel like the signs that I've been getting recently were very clear, and I feel closer to God than I've ever felt before. I feel like what I was going for in the beginning, just kind of establishing that communication style with God, I feel like I was able to really get that going. And so I'm so excited about that. Like I said, I'm still in awe. I'm still in awe. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. But yes, I won't make this video too long. I just had to come on here and give my little praise report, girl, because your girl is still out here in Houston kicking it and finding her way. By no means is this a perfect situation at all. It's still some things are still kind of up in the air. And I'm still figuring a lot of my situation out. I'm still trying to put the pieces together. But like I said, I would really like to bring you guys along and document the process because I truly feel that this is going to be the beginning of a very special and transformative chapter in my life. And I gotta get this on camera. And I think it would be a huge benefit to the community that I'm building to see me go through what I'm going through in real time. Not after I make it come back and try to tell you what I did, but just kind of watching me through the uncertain moments and watching me build my faith and trust in God in real time, I think is so important and can be so useful for so many people. So So excited, and I can't wait to really get into some things because it's gonna be interesting, to say the least. So like I said, subscribe, leave me a comment letting me know what you think, give me a thumbs up. And was there anything else I had to say? That was pretty much it. But I just want to leave off with a little encouragement. You know, if you are in a place where you are making some really big decisions, some really big changes in your life, literally, I'm learning in real time that all you need is the faith of a mustard seed, girl, and you will be okay. There's going to be moments where you feel like you just don't know what's going to happen next, and that's okay. That is just a part of it. But I feel like as long as you have motion and you're building that momentum and you feel aligned, everything will work itself out. You just got to keep going. That's all that I have, and I will see you guys in the next video. We will be talking in more detail about what my exact pivot is and what my plan is. In the next video, I'll kind of break it down in detail just so you guys can learn a little bit more about me and what I'm about to get myself into, girl. So yes, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.